America's morning coffee has become a dessert in disguise, and that transformation poses a real danger to those of us over 55. 142 grams of sugar sits inside a single medium Dunkin butter pecan swirl frozen coffee. The American Heart Association says women should consume no more than 25 grams of added sugar per day, and men no more than 36, which means that one drink contains nearly 6 times the daily limit for women and almost 4 times the limit for men. You might be thinking you don't order those fancy frozen drinks, that you just get a regular coffee. Fair enough. The coffee industry has fundamentally changed over the past 3 decades, though, and what used to be a straightforward beverage category has become a $47.8 billion market built largely on sugar, syrups, and sweetened customizations. Those of us in the senior demographic face more vulnerability to the consequences than younger folks do because our bodies process sugar differently as we age. We're often the least aware of just how much sugar hides in that afternoon pick-me-up. Today we're going to trace exactly how we got here. Look at the shocking sugar content in popular drinks from Starbucks, Dunkin, Dutch Bros, and McDonald's. Examine why our age group faces unique health risks, and discuss what the medical experts are actually saying about all of this. Cambridge, Massachusetts, 1992. That's when George Howell's Coffee Connection invented something called the Frappuccino, a blend of very strong coffee, sugar, and milk. Boston crowds loved it, but this regional hit might have stayed a local curiosity if not for what happened next. Starbucks acquired the Coffee Connection in 1994, picking up the Frappuccino trademark along with it, and the following spring they launched Frappuccinos nationwide with just 2 flavors, coffee and mocha. The response was immediate and overwhelming. 20% of Starbucks' summer sales by 1996 came from Frappuccinos, generating $52 million in revenue that year alone. Starbucks partnered with PepsiCo that same year to create bottled Frappuccinos, bringing the sugary coffee concept into grocery stores and convenience shops across America. The real explosion came in 2002 when Starbucks added Frappuccino Creme, an entirely new line of drinks that didn't even contain coffee, essentially milkshakes marketed under a coffee brand's umbrella. And that's when everything changed with the pumpkin spice latte. About 100 stores tested the PSL in October 2003, and by fall of 2004 it had rolled out nationally. What nobody expected was that it would become more than a beverage. 424 million pumpkin spice lattes sold worldwide by 2023, generating approximately $500 million annually from this single seasonal drink. The PSL taught the industry a powerful lesson. Seasonal, limited edition, highly sweetened drinks create urgency and excitement, becoming events that people photograph for social media and plan their autumn around. Instagram launched in 2010, and the era of the PSL selfie began. Coffee drinks weren't just beverages anymore. They were content and status symbols, and the more colorful, the more elaborate, the more topped with whipped cream and drizzled with caramel sauce, the better they performed online. Starbucks leaned into this hard by launching the However You Want It Frappuccino customization in 2010. 36,000 potential Frappuccino combinations exist today, and as of 2024, 25% of Starbucks drinks in the US have more than 3 modifications. Extra pumps of syrup, added flavors, special toppings. Dunkin traveled a parallel trajectory. Colada frozen beverages and iced coffee launched in 1997. The America Runs on Dunkin campaign arrived in 2006. By 2018, they rebranded entirely, dropping donuts from their name because 60% of their revenue now came from beverages. Dutch Bros started as a pushcart in Oregon in 1992 and grew into a regional powerhouse known for extremely sweet, highly customized drinks before going public in September 2021 with a valuation exceeding $5 billion. Cold beverages now account for 75% of all Starbucks beverage sales, and these tend to be sweeter and more elaborately flavored than hot coffee. $17.7 billion went to cold coffee away from home in 2023 alone. That number represents a 108% increase from $8.5 billion in 2016. Coffee is no longer primarily about caffeine or the ritual of a warm cup in the morning. For much of the industry, coffee has become a delivery mechanism for sugar. The numbers are genuinely startling when we get specific about sugar content. Let's walk through the major chains and their most popular drinks using their official nutritional information and keep that 25-gram daily limit for women and 36 grams for men in mind as we go. Dunkin has some of the highest sugar offerings in the entire industry, starting with their butter pecan swirl frozen coffee at 142 grams of sugar in a medium size. That's right, 142 grams in a single drink, nearly 6 times the recommended daily limit. Their caramel swirl frozen coffee contains 134 grams. French vanilla swirl frozen coffee hits 132 grams. Mocha swirl frozen coffee reaches 129 grams. The vanilla bean colada contains 125 grams. Order a large 32 ounces, and the pumpkin swirl frozen coffee hits 156 grams of sugar, over 6 times what you should consume in an entire day. Even the more normal drinks pack a punch. 55 grams of sugar fill a pumpkin spice signature latte. A caramel cold brew with sweet cold foam contains 49 grams. Hot chocolate, which many of us think of as a relatively innocent choice, has 46 grams. Starbucks concentrates their sugar in the Frappuccino line. 65 grams fill a grande pumpkin spice Frappuccino, 2.5 times the daily limit for women. The vanilla Frappuccino has 63 grams. White chocolate mocha Frappuccino contains 61 grams. Caramel ribbon crunch has 60 grams. Mocha cookie crumble reaches 59 grams. Size matters enormously. A tall caramel Frappuccino, the small at 12 ounces, has about 46 grams of sugar. Grande at 16 ounces jumps to 54 to 60 grams. A venti at 24 ounces contains 76 to 80 grams of sugar. Seasonal drinks carry particularly heavy loads. An iced peppermint white chocolate mocha can contain up to 73 grams. A caramel apple spice has 70 grams. Even the standard pumpkin spice latte, hot not frozen, contains 50 grams of sugar. Dutch Bros has built a reputation for being especially sweet. Their Golden Eagle Freeze in a large size can contain over 75 grams of sugar and up to 1,000 calories. The Caramelizer Freeze has 75 grams. Their milkshake-style frosts range from 40 to 90 grams depending on size. McDonald's McCafe drinks deserve attention too. Their Dulce de Leche Frappe contains 97 grams of sugar in a medium size. A large caramel frappe has over 82 grams. Large mocha frappe exceeds 80 grams. A can of Coca-Cola contains about 39 grams of sugar, and CNN reported in 2016 that some Starbucks drinks contain 3 times the sugar of a Coke. 81 grams of sugar fill a venti caramel Frappuccino, the same amount as 1 Kit Kat bar plus 1 bag of peanut M&Ms, plus 1 box of Milk Duds, plus 4 everlasting gobstoppers combined. Many of us drink these regularly, some people every day, and that adds up. Dr. Tony Goldstone, an endocrinologist at Imperial College London, put it this way. After a decade of one drink like this a day, you may have put on 10 kilos, that's 22 pounds. And if you're middle-aged, then you are significantly increasing your risk of diabetes. Our bodies simply don't handle sugar the way they did when we were younger, and that's particularly relevant for those of us over 55. The Baltimore Longitudinal Study of Aging tracked how glucose tolerance changes as we age, and the findings are striking. About 21% of people ages 20 to 39 have diabetes, impaired fasting glucose, or impaired glucose tolerance. That jumps to nearly 47% for ages 40 to 59, 67% for those 60 and over, and for those 75 and older, over 75%. 3 out of 4 Americans over 75 have some form of impaired glucose processing. This isn't just about lifestyle or diet. Fundamental changes in how our bodies work come with age. Insulin sensitivity, our body's ability to respond to insulin and regulate blood sugar, decreases with age even after researchers adjust for differences in body fat, fat distribution, and physical activity. Your body is less efficient at processing sugar than it was 30 years ago, even if you've maintained a healthy weight and stayed active. Several factors contribute to this decline. We tend to lose muscle mass as we age, a condition called sarcopenia. And muscle plays an important role in glucose uptake. Our mitochondria, the energy factories in our cells, don't work as well. Our beta cells, which produce insulin, become less responsive. We become less sensitive to incretin hormones that help regulate blood sugar. Hormonal changes reduce our levels of IGF-1 and DHEA, and we experience increased oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. Sugar hits us harder because of all this. A 30-year-old and a 70-year-old can drink the identical Frappuccino, and the 70-year-old's body will struggle more to process that sugar load. None of this would be as concerning if our generation was avoiding sugary drinks, but the data suggests otherwise. 17 teaspoons of added sugar daily, about 270 calories from sugar alone, is what the average American adult consumes, nearly triple the recommendation for women and double for men. Coffee and tea contribute about 10 to 12% of total added sugar intake among adults. Something that often gets overlooked is what Susan Weiner, a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator, notes. When I ask a client about what they eat, they very rarely remember what they drink. We focus on our food choices, but forget that our beverages count too. Excessive sugar consumption over time produces consequences across multiple body systems in seniors, and the research makes this clear. Diabetes is the most direct connection, so let's start there. 29.2% of Americans 65 and older have diabetes according to the CDC's National Diabetes Statistics Report from 2024, including both diagnosed and undiagnosed cases. 16.5 million people. An additional 48.8%, 26.4 million people have prediabetes. Nearly 80% of Americans over 65 have either diabetes or prediabetes when you combine those numbers. Older adults with diabetes face severe consequences. This age group has the highest rates of major lower extremity amputation, heart attack, visual impairment, and end-stage kidney disease of any age group. Global diabetes prevalence in those 65 and older is expected to reach 276 million by 2045. High sugar drinks cause blood glucose to spike because the sugar is processed and absorbed very quickly. Susan Weiner explains that this can increase problems such as insulin resistance, which is associated with type 2 diabetes. Heart disease is next. One study published in JAMA found that people consuming 21% or more of their daily calories from added sugar were more than twice as likely to die from heart disease compared to those who kept added sugar under 10% of calories. Research has shown a direct association between sugar consumption and blood pressure for women aged 65 to 80. Reducing sugar intake by just 2.3 teaspoons could result in systolic blood pressure dropping by 8.4 points and diastolic by 3.7 points. Meaningful numbers for blood pressure management. Sugar-sweetened beverages have been specifically associated with increased risk for congestive heart failure, independent of age or BMI. The connection between sugar and dementia might surprise you. 789 older adults participated in the Rush Memory and Aging Project, which followed them for an average of 7.3 years. Those in the highest quintile of total sugar intake were twice as likely to develop dementia compared to those with lower sugar consumption. Higher fructose intake specifically carried 2.8 times higher dementia risk. Higher sucrose intake nearly doubled the risk. Harvard researchers published a study in the New England Journal of Medicine that found any incremental increase in blood sugar was associated with increased dementia risk, even in people without diabetes. The Framingham Heart Study followed participants for 15 to 20 years and found that higher consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages was associated with increased risk of all types of dementia, Alzheimer's disease specifically, and stroke. Dr. Goldstone points out another mechanism. Fat is a very active organ. It releases lots of chemicals and hormones that are damaging to health and cause inflammation. Sugar consumption leads to weight gain, and that weight gain creates its own cascade of health problems. High sugar intake promotes chronic inflammation throughout the body, contributing to diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, arthritis, COPD, and certain cancers. Sugar also forms something called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs appropriately enough, through a process called glycation. These AGEs promote inflammation, thickened arteries, stiff joints, and failing organs, especially problematic in elderly populations who already deal with age-related inflammation. C-reactive protein, interleukin-6, and tumor necrosis factor, all markers of inflammation, are significantly higher among diabetic elderly and those with impaired glucose tolerance according to research. Even bone health suffers. Sugar-sweetened beverages are associated with significant reductions in whole-body bone mineral density. High sugar increases excretion of calcium, magnesium, and potassium, nutrients essential for maintaining strong bones. Soda consumption has been linked to increased fracture risk. A 7-day increase in biological age for each additional gram of sugar consumed daily is what a 2024 study from the UK Biobank found. If you're consuming 50 extra grams of sugar daily, which is easy to do with one fancy coffee drink, that's equivalent to aging your body by nearly a year, every year. The Seniors NRECA cohort study in Spain followed nearly 2,000 adults, 60 and older, and found that added sugar consumption was associated with increased frailty risk. The Nurses' Health Study found that women over 60 who consumed one or more servings of sugar-sweetened beverages per day were 1.3 times more likely to develop frailty. If you're finding this information useful, take a moment to subscribe to the Corporate Backdoor and hit that notification bell. We dig into the stuff companies don't advertise, the kind of health and consumer information that doesn't make it onto their menu boards but affects our daily lives. Subscribing helps more people in our age group find these videos, and it costs you nothing. Alright, let's continue. Medical professionals and nutritionists have become increasingly vocal about the risks of sugary coffee drinks. Mary Sabat, a registered dietitian, described high-sugar coffee drinks this way. While it may offer a delightful flavor profile, the abundance of sugars, artificial flavors, and potentially harmful additives make it a particularly poor choice for those concerned about their health and wellness. Carrie Gans, author of The Small Change Diet, singled out the salted caramel mocha. The salted caramel mocha comes with 470 calories, 10 grams of saturated fat, and 59 grams of added sugar, making it just one more Starbucks beverage to pass on. Jessica Cording, another registered dietitian, warns about what she calls the health halo around certain drinks. Referring to matcha-based beverages, she notes, "It has a health halo around it. It's going to hit your bloodstream fast, and then give you a blood sugar crash." This is an important concept. Many drinks are marketed with healthy-sounding ingredients like matcha, acai, mango, and dragon fruit, but contain just as much sugar as the obviously indulgent options. Products named things like Mango Dragon Fruit Refresher often contain little to no actual mango or dragon fruit, just sugar and concentrates. Daniel Maman, a health coach, said of the white mocha Frappuccino, "This contains 2 and 3 times the optimum amount of added sugars that a healthy individual should drink per day." Alice Benskin, the senior nutritionist, was blunt about the long-term consequences. Rather than promoting health, frequent consumption of these drinks over the long term can increase the risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and associated health issues. Dr. Kawither Hashem, head of research at Action on Sugar at Queen Mary University, stated in 2024, "With many of these drinks containing high levels of sugar and calories, removing their current exemptions could create a much-needed shift toward healthier market options. Helen Curran, head of policy at Diabetes UK, warned in 2025. With cases of type 2 diabetes continuing to rise at an alarming rate, particularly in younger people, we need bold action to cut unnecessary sugar from food and drink. Current recommendations for seniors are clear. The dietary guidelines for Americans advise to choose foods with little to no added sugar. MyPlate.gov specifically tells older adults to limit beverages that have lots of added sugars. One Ohio State neuropsychologist noted, "For older adults, especially those managing chronic conditions, even lower levels of added sugar may be more appropriate than the standard guidelines." The coffee industry hasn't ignored these concerns entirely, though critics argue the changes have been insufficient. CNN reported in 2016 that some Starbucks drinks contain 3 times the sugar of a can of Coke, and Starbucks responded by committing to a 25% sugar reduction by 2020. More recently, in 2024, Starbucks removed sugar from their matcha powder, and sales increased by 40%. Customers actually preferred the less sweet version. Starbucks also launched their iced energy drinks in 2024 with only 5 calories and 0 grams of sugar. Frappuccino light options with about 100 calories and no added sugar have been introduced. Protein cold foam with approximately 15 grams of protein is in testing. The official Starbucks position goes like this. Starbucks offers a variety of beverages ranging from wholesome to indulgent, and we believe in giving customers the power to eat healthy, indulge, and achieve balance on their own terms. They provide options, but the choice and the responsibility fall on the customer. Regulatory progress has been slow. New York City became the first jurisdiction to require calorie labeling at chain restaurants in January 2008. Federal menu labeling was signed into the Affordable Care Act in 2010, but didn't actually take effect until May 2018. Chains with 20 or more locations today must display calories on menu boards, but sugar content is not required to be displayed prominently. You have to ask for it, or look it up in detailed nutritional documents. One federal judge noted in a case against Starbucks, consumers should not be expected to consult nutritional labels to correct misleading information on product packaging. Legal challenges have hit the industry. Starbucks is currently dealing with a class action lawsuit alleging their refresher drinks are deceptively named. Products like Mango Dragon Fruit Refresher that contain little actual mango or dragon fruit. The court denied Starbucks' motion to dismiss, ruling that consumers could reasonably expect fruit names to reflect actual ingredients. A $5 million class action hit Dunkin in December 2024 over their non-dairy milk up charges, with plaintiffs arguing the surcharges discriminate against those with dietary restrictions. International movement towards stronger regulation has emerged. The UK government announced in November 2024 that it would extend its soft drinks industry levy to include milk-based drinks, effective January 2028, which would apply to many of the sugary coffee beverages we've been discussing. No such federal action is currently on the horizon in the US. Awareness matters first. 60% of coffee consumers who check labels now look at sugar content, according to 2023 research. That's progress, but it means 40% still don't. If you're going to order specialty coffee drinks, here are some practical considerations based on what we've covered. Know the baseline numbers. 25 grams of sugar is the daily limit for women, 36 for men, according to the American Heart Association. A single grande Frappuccino can contain 2 to 3 times that amount. Size makes a huge difference. Going from a venti to a tall can cut your sugar intake by nearly half. Ask about modifications. Sugar-free syrups are available at most chains. You can request fewer pumps of syrup, and you can skip the whipped cream and drizzle toppings. Be skeptical of healthy-sounding names. A drink with matcha or acai or mango in the name isn't automatically healthy, and many of these have just as much sugar as the obviously indulgent options. Consider the context of your overall diet. If you're going to have a sugary coffee drink, maybe that's not the day to also have dessert. The math adds up quickly. Remember what the research shows about moderation. A Harvard study following over 170,000 people found that coffee, even with some sugar, was associated with up to 30% lower mortality. The key phrase is some sugar, and the study found benefits with a teaspoon per cup. That's very different from 65 grams of sugar in a pumpkin spice Frappuccino. Black coffee was approved by the FDA as a healthy beverage in December 2024. Coffee itself contains antioxidants, polyphenols, and bioactive compounds with documented health benefits. What we add to the coffee creates the problems. We started with a simple premise. America's coffee industry has transformed a morning ritual into something unrecognizable, and that transformation poses particular risks for those of us over 65. The numbers bear this out. $47.8 billion built substantially on sugar. Individual drinks containing up to 142 grams of sugar, nearly 6 times the recommended daily limit. 3/4 of Americans over 75 with impaired glucose tolerance, twice the dementia risk for seniors with high sugar intake. This isn't about never enjoying a treat. Understanding what we're actually consuming is what matters. 2 flavors and a summer indulgence. That's what the Frappuccino was when it launched in 1995. 36,000 possible combinations exist today, and cold sweetened beverages account for 75% of Starbucks sales. That shift happened gradually over 30 years while coffee maintained its image as a relatively innocent daily habit. Many of us still think of our coffee order as just coffee, not as a potential source of 60, 80, or even 140 grams of sugar. For our age group with our changed metabolism and higher health stakes, that knowledge gap matters. We process sugar less efficiently, we're more vulnerable to diabetes, heart disease, and cognitive decline, and we can't absorb the health consequences the way a 30-year-old might. Awareness is growing, and that's good news. The industry is starting, slowly, to respond. We have more information available to make informed choices than ever before. The question isn't whether to enjoy coffee. The question is whether we know what we're actually drinking. Now you do. If this video helped you see your coffee order a little differently, consider sharing it with a friend or family member who might benefit from the same information. That's what the corporate backdoor is all about, shining a light on what's hiding in plain sight. Drop a comment below and let me know what you order at your local coffee shop. I'm curious whether any of you have already made changes or plan to after watching this. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. We'll see you in the next one.